Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Pros. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined by Andrew Erickson. Buddy, it's been a few weeks here. I had some technical difficulties, so Seth filled in 1 week. Then, of course, we had Thanksgiving week where we kind of stepped away for a week to transition into the new iteration of the show for the rest of the season, which is going to be predictions based. We are, of course, past the trade deadline in, every league besides, if you have like a dynasty league that has some weird trade rules, maybe that's a little bit different. But by and large, we're past trade deadlines in all of our leagues. So we are, rather than talking trades, Erickson, and buys and sells, we are talking predictions the rest of the way. How excited are you for the rest of the show?
Super pumped to have you back on the show, Worm. The dynamic duo is back. And honestly, I don't think you missed much because one of the last recommendations I gave on the trade show was to buy Lamar Jackson. So that has been an absolute disaster. However, Lamar, we're going to talk about him today with some of our predictions. Maybe he can turn it around. That is a tease for those at home. And I'm excited to obviously break down the Ravens with you. What else are we going to do on the show?
We were talking about this show, and the way it's going to work, just so everybody knows, is we're going to go back and forth and we're going to give our predictions kind of going 5-1, roughly in that order. We might kind of flub with that a little to make it transition well. If we both are talking about the same team, we might move around the order a bit, but we're going to end with our favorite bets of the week. It's going to be our Hard Rock best bets of the week. That'll be every episode. That will be the one that we are most wanting to kind of plant our flag on. And we haven't really decided what we're going to do as a competition, but we want to kind of go head to head and see who does better. Maybe we'll come up with some bet. We've got a team trip to New Orleans in January, which we're looking forward to as a company. Maybe on that trip we can find something to do for the fans that we can share with them and turn this into some kind of competition. If you have any ideas, let us know in the comments for sure what you think we should be kind of putting on the table here, Erickson versus myself, throughout these predictions. You and I were talking before we started the actual recording the show, Erickson, just kind of heading into week 14, 1 week left in the, regular season in most fantasy leagues, kind of how we're sitting here. This is the first week where I have teams that are eliminated. It's funny. I think I'm in like 14 or 15 leagues this year, and there's only one that I'm eliminated in. And the one I'm eliminated in, I have the 4th most points in the league. It's just I've had terrible luck and will not be making the playoffs, even though my team has been pretty good this year. You, it sounds like, are still alive everywhere.
Yeah, basically sitting on 7-6 teams across the board. So just a little bit above average, hanging on to that final playoff spot potentially. I got a few 8-5 teams as well, but it looks like week 14 we are all systems go still to try to fight for that playoff berth. And look, everyone that's trying to fight for that last playoff spot, you just got to get to the dance. Because once you get there, anything can happen. It just takes one guy going off for a couple weeks that can bring you a lot of success. And I think one of the big themes we're going to have with teams that win leagues this year, and it's going to be for the second year in a row, Bucky Irving. Again, another tease for a player that we're going to talk about later in the show, but I think that with him coming back with fresh legs after so much time missed, the Bucs schedule rest of season, I think Bucky Irving is going to be a league winner 2 years in a row.
By the way, these are going to be kind of fantasy-driven predictions, but then we'll sort of include a prop with them that goes along. Like if we like a player, hey, he's going to finish, as a top 12 player at his position this week. Here's a prop we like with him. That'll kind of be the format of the show. So there'll be a little bit of betting talk mixed in, but it'll be still primarily, even though it's a prediction show, a fantasy-driven show here. Quickly, Erickson, before we dive into our predictions, we usually like to start off the show recapping Monday Night Football. Doesn't feel like there's much here. The Patriots are the much better. I mean, it's a team that's now 11-2 going up against a team that's now 2-11. This is kind of the result you would have expected, a blowout in favor of New England. Ramondre Stevenson did get one more carry than Trayvon Henderson. Henderson was still much better, averaging almost twice as many yards per carry as Ramondre. Drake May continues to fall short of a 300-yard passing game, but still is very, very good. Jackson Dart returns just 139 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I just don't feel like there's much to talk about here. Do you have any points you want to hit on before we dive into the predictions?
Well, Tyrone Tracy got injured, so that's something that's kind of noteworthy when it comes to, hey, if you need running back help, Devin Singletary looks like the next man up, and they've trusted him with a pretty significant snap share. He actually looked pretty good against the Patriots defense last night. Patriots defense, especially against the run, hasn't been as good because they've been dealing with some injuries to their interior. Now, both these teams are on buys.
I was going to say, 14. It's hard to look at that and go pick them up when last week of the regular season. So maybe if you're already settled into your playoff spot or something, but go ahead.
I will say that when I was writing my Beyond the Waiver Wire article for week 14, one of the best schedules rest of season for a guy that's going to be on waivers after this week is the Patriots kicker. So he is someone that, hey, if you already have your playoffs all set up, ready to go, add him as a kicker, because I think that he's got really good matchups. He's been really good the last couple weeks. I know I picked him up a couple weeks ago, and I've been riding him as well. So I feel like that's a move that you can make if you're feeling really good about your playoff spot. Again, nothing else is really super actionable. Yes, the Stevenson usage is kind of annoying for Henderson, but you're not going to bench Henderson with all the great matchups he has after the bye week. So Stevenson may be just a guy that, hey, he has a lot of upside if something were to happen to Henderson, and you get Stevenson back into that bell cow role. So you feel great about that. And then, yeah, on the Giants side, you're not really using, again, Wandale, Theo Johnson as a tight end streamer, and Jackson Dart. One thing to note, no design runs last night. So they did dial it back a little bit when it came to the rushing. Now, he can still scramble at will, which is what he did. He was taking hit after hit. But I would say that even with the favorable schedule, that is something to note with Jackson Dart. Maybe we don't get as much rushing upside as we did during the when Brian Daboll was calling the plays.
Erickson's out here breaking down rest of season kicker schedules for you. That's the work he's putting in for everyone.
That's the people need at this point. Again, you can't make trades anymore, so you got to make moves elsewhere.
I am a big fan, and I would recommend this to everybody. Like, if you, I have a couple of leagues where I am like I've already clinched the bye or whatever. In those leagues, I am picking up teams who have great defenses in the leagues that have defenses still. Guys that have great matchups coming up in the next few weeks, and dropping some of these bench guys that I just know I'm not going to be playing at this point in the season, and I'm already in the playoffs. If I already have a bye, then the next 2 weeks are already covered. I am looking at week 16 and looking at week 17 already and picking up teams that are facing like the Titans or whoever the worst offenses are that you can find that have those defenses available. So I would recommend that to everybody as well. Let's dive into our actual predictions here, Erickson. We hadn't talked for a couple of weeks, so we had to start off with a little Ravens talk here. You're going to go first, but I've also got a Ravens one here, kind of back to back. What's your first prediction here, Ravens related?
Lamar Jackson finishes as a fantasy quarterback 1 in Week 14 against Pittsburgh Steelers. I could have gone more of a low bar. Could have said, hey, Lamar Jackson's going to score 10 fantasy points this week, which would have been his highest over his last 3 games because, as anyone knows, been following football, it's just been a disaster for Lamar Jackson in fantasy football. Now, part of it has been he's not played well. Part of it has been he's coming off the injury. Part of it has been the Ravens offense hasn't looked as good, etc. There's a lot of reasons why. I would say, though, Lamar's also been running really cold when it comes to kind of like the variant side of things. Like, this is like 1 percentile type of outcome for Lamar Jackson the last 3 weeks, where he hasn't just been playing bad. It's been compounded with a lot of unluck situations where last week, right, against the Bengals, Isaiah Likely is going to score a touchdown. Nope. Fumbles the ball right at the 1 yard line. No touchdown for Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers catches like a 35-yard touchdown. Nope. Coming back on a penalty. So like everything's just been working against Lamar Jackson in terms of, hey, can this guy score fantasy points? Now, he has been struggling. If you look at his expected fantasy points per game over the last 3 weeks, it's 15.6. That's obviously nowhere near what we're expecting from Lamar, but he's scoring negative 21 points under expectation. Like, it has just been so bad that even if Lamar just plays an average game against the Steelers, like, we're going to get him back up to at least 15 to 16 fantasy points where you're not pulling your hair out that, oh my God, I can't believe I started Lamar Jackson for the 4th consecutive week. I'm still going to continue to start Lamar Jackson. I think that with 10 days off, more extended rest, I think he can get a little bit healthier. I don't think that the rushing has been like totally obsolete. Now, maybe you disagree with me, Warren, but I mean, he's still been running 6 or 7 carries per game the last couple weeks. So I don't think that's really gone away. We know that they don't love to use him near the goal line anyway. So again, the rushing touchdowns haven't really been there, but this dude was almost a lock every single week to throw for at least 2 passing touchdowns. He had one of the longest streaks I've seen, and then the last couple weeks has been absolutely non-existent. So I think he gets back on track here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 7th best matchup for quarterbacks. They're 26th in passing touchdown rate allowed this season. So not only is he going to finish as a fantasy QB1, he's also going to throw for over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Worm, what say you when it comes to the Ravens and Steelers?
I think you're wrong about this. listen, I get that the Steelers have maybe been a favorable matchup for other quarterbacks. This is the one team that has, them and the Chiefs are the two teams that have always given Lamar Jackson fits. There has never been a time where he looks just like super comfortable against this defense. You could say that's just the AFC North of it all. Like, it's a rivalry game. Ravens Steelers is always close. You could say it's something that Mike Tomlin's doing. You could say it's something in his own head. Whatever you want to say, like, this is the one matchup. Like, last year, when the Ravens kind of finally overcame their Steelers demons, it was very much on the back of Derrick Henry in the running game. It was not on the back of Lamar Jackson throwing the ball. It's kind of funny. I saw a Ravens fan on Twitter who I follow say that Lamar had the Steelers game against the Bengals, because that's what usually happens is he looks like the better player, but he has all these stupid turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. Like, the Ravens played the way against the Bengals last week, the way they usually play against the Steelers, and lose a game they should have won. And I'm not convinced that this offense is capable of putting it all together right now. You talked about Lamar coming off the injury. He's not off it. He's clearly still injured. There's a degree of being hobbled in his game right now. I mean, he has been on the practice report for hamstring, knee, ankle, and toe all in the last month. It's just like, he clearly does not have the same level of elusiveness. I do think he is still pretty fast. It's the start-stop, the deceleration, the elusiveness in the pocket that is, I think, very obviously missing, and it's just throwing off everything. Also, this offensive line is not good. 60% of the offensive line is having a terrible year, and Lamar is not able to overcome it in the way he has been in the past. So I really worry about how he is going to finish in this game from a fantasy perspective. I don't see this as the turnaround spot for Lamar and this offense in general, honestly, just the way they've looked. Now, the Steelers defense is really, truly quite bad, but so is the Bengals defense, and that didn't matter last week because of just the way the Ravens offense has performed really all year long, it feels like. So I am against this. And to that point, my prediction here is the Ravens are going to outgain the Steelers in yardage. They're going to look like the better team, but they're not going to get in the end zone, whether it's because of turnovers when they get close or because they are settling for field goals. I think they are going to fail to score touchdowns despite outperforming the Steelers, and they're going to trail most of the game. I do think the Ravens still end up winning, but I don't see this as a Ravens kind of get right performance in the way the Steelers defense perhaps was for the Bills a week ago. I think this is a game where the Ravens still come away, even if they win and are in first place in the division after this week. I think Ravens fans and Lamar Jackson fantasy managers are going to come away disappointed. If anybody is going to have a big game, I would lean Derrick Henry more than Lamar. And because of all that, what I just said, I'm taking the Ravens under 24.5 on the team total.
Yeah, somebody in this game, whether it's Steelers or Ravens, has to bounce back in some way, shape, or form, because both teams are coming off really bad losses. The Buffalo Bills they didn't do anything else except run the football. They ran the same play over and over and over again. TJ Watt was in shock that, wow, they just kept running the exact same play at us and we couldn't stop it.
And by the way, Derek Harmon is out again this upcoming week for the Ravens, which really helps Derrick Henry. So, if the Ravens offense proves me wrong, and I just think it'll be the run game. I don't think it'll be Lamar throwing multiple passing touchdowns. We were talking a little bit. There's been some conversation about Lamar being really overrated. We don't have enough time to get into all the reasons why I disagree with that. But I just want to say, him having a bad month when he's really injured and is playing behind a terrible offensive line and just has given us so much fantasy greatness the last 6.5 years since becoming a starter. We're not going to give him the grace of a bad month. I think that's ridiculous. You want to set aside the playoffs conversation. I have my own thoughts about how overblown some of that narrative is, but that's its own separate conversation. He has been so good for us for so long in the regular season that and by us I mean fantasy managers, that I don't think you can hold this month too badly against him when it's clear he is not at full strength.
Nobody wants to be patient, Worm. Everyone just wants the results. Nobody cares the context of the certain matters. I would say, to add something to your point about the Ravens team total going under, last 10 games between the Steelers and Ravens, how many of those games do you think have gone over the entire game total?
Oh, I would guess 1 or 2. I don't think it happens often.
Yep, the last 9 have gone under the total. Yep. So chances are at least one of these teams is going to fall short of their team total. You're picking the Ravens. I would probably opt for the Steelers because, again, vibes aren't great around the Ravens. They might be worse for the Pittsburgh Steelers who are going on the road this week.
I do like the under, like the overall under at 43 on Hard Rock Bet too. Like that would be my lean on this game is the under, because I think both offenses will certainly struggle. I don't think I think it's been like over a month since the Steelers completed a pass greater than like 30 yards or so. I forget what the exact number is, but like it's like a wild stat. We do have a special offer for everyone. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today. Use promo code FP1month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it free for 1 month now. Available on iOS and Android. Again, that's FP, the number 1 month. All right, Erickson, let's get to our number 4 predictions here. What do you have for us?
Oronde Gadsden's going to disappoint this week. Tough matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Question marks around quarterback Justin Herbert. We still don't know if he's going to play. We're recording this on Tuesday. We don't get a practice report on a Monday Night Football game till Thursday at the earliest. So we'll all find out together what the status of Justin Herbert is. But even if Herbert is upright and playing, Gadsden's been kind of disappearing over the last couple weeks. So held to 1 catch for 27 yards in this past game. He did get tackled at the 2-yard line. So there was a chance that he could have scored, but I think that's really the bet you're trying to make with Gadsden is that, okay, can he find the end zone? Because he's been under 42 yards in 3 straight games, no more than 3 receptions in any of those particular games. Now, game script has not been favorable for Gadsden because the Chargers were just playing in like blowouts. Whether they're blowing out the other team or they're getting blown out by another team, it's the Chargers basically the Chargers how they used to be before Harbaugh showed up, where you had no idea what to expect from this team. And I look up the matchup against the Eagles, brutal. 1-star matchup on the Fantasy Pros matchup tool. The Eagles are allowing the second fewest yards to tight ends this season, 32.4 per game. Only 2 tight ends have gotten past 43 yards against them this season. Third fewest fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So I think it's going to be another tough sledding for Gadsden just after what's happened to Herbert, the matchup, and the fact that he hasn't been nearly as involved as he was to start the year when he came out of the gates blazing hot. But then we saw, okay, Johnson comes back, Keenan Allen's still involved, Ladd McConkey, a lot of mouths to feed, and that's why I'm concerned about him. I don't know if he's just an outright bench because he still has a lot of upside like we've seen, and that doesn't necessarily even, again, almost regardless of matchup, but when I just look at the peripherals of this particular spot for him, I think that he's probably going to finish under his receiving yards, even if he ends up salvaging a day with a touchdown score. Like, again, he came very close last week. So I'm going to take the under on his receiving yards prop. They're not dropped yet. So I kind of looked at some of his older props, 47.5 receiving yards. I would probably bet this down to 42.5 receiving yards, something along those lines. So we'll all find out together what the final receiving yards line is, but it's going to be low. And I think I still want to gravitate towards the under on it because it's just a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he came out so on fire when he first broke out that it's kind of hard to realize that like he hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points since week 8. He's still ranked as tight end 8 in ECR. Some of the names around him, like Kyle Pitts is 1 spot ahead of him. Mark Andrews is right behind him. Harold Fannin, Colson Loveland, Juwan Johnson are all kind of in those next few behind Gadsden. It kind of speaks to the state of the position that he has been struggling as much as he is and is 8th. Also, he's George Kittle would be ahead of him, but is on bye this week. So that kind of knocks out somebody who, kind of bumps everybody up a rung. But I want to be avoiding him. You mentioned the matchup already, but if you look like at the matchup rankings in the expert consensus rankings, it's like all the names around him are 2. Trey McBride has a 2. Everybody else is like 3, 4, 4, 3, 4. Gadsden's a 1. Like it's a really, really bad matchup. To your point, as bad as it gets. I think this is good. I don't disagree with this one at all. I think it's a good call. I think there's a better chance that he gets I think to your point, I think there's a chance he gets a score than he goes over his receiving yards. I think that's my ultimate point.
Yeah, and that's why it's hard for me to just say, okay, just bench him outright, because he has flashed a really high ceiling at times this year, and that still exists regardless of the matchup. I think if Herbert doesn't play, I think that becomes, okay, we can just bench Gadsden. Whereas a player that I'm looking at, someone that you might get off waivers this week, who has a better chance of scoring this week, Gadsden or Darren Waller, right? Like, Darren Waller, we already saw him play the Jets this year, and he scored twice. Like, that defense is not good. So, again, we'll see where Gadsden settles in with the ECR rankings. I don't think that he's going to move any higher than tight end 8, but if we continue to get positive steam on Darren Waller, again, led the team in receiving yards last week. He's got a ton of touchdown equity. I mean, look, I get Waller. Waller is good when he's healthy, right? And right now he's healthy again. I know he missed basically the most of the season, but that might be something that if you're a Gadsden manager, you don't feel like dealing with the Herbert, Trey Lance experiment or whatever ends up happening. Darren Waller might be a good pivot play there because I think he also has a lot of upside, which is the name of the game when it comes to tight ends.
My next prediction, Patrick Mahomes, sticking in the same division as Gadsden, will finish with his worst game of the season. He will be outside the top 20 quarterbacks in fantasy, is my prediction here. It's obviously been up and down as an offense for the Chiefs this year, largely, for Mahomes especially, better of a fantasy performance than it was the last couple of years, but it's still been kind of inconsistent. And now they get the Texans, and the Texans defense has been unbelievable. They completely shut down Josh Allen a couple weeks ago. They held the Colts to 16 points, and the Colts have obviously been really good at times. The Colts was in the last game 20-16. In fact, if you go back, setting aside that Jags game, which was kind of a weird, fluky performance there in week 10, since week 7, they have not allowed 20 points in a game. That Jags is the only exception to that. They held the Niners to 15, the Broncos to 18, the Titans to 13, the Bills to 19, the Colts to 16. This is a really, really good defense, arguably the best defense. I think it is the best defense in the NFL. It's like them or the Seahawks maybe, or the Broncos. There are a few good defenses. I think this is the best. And they have been absolute hell on earth for opposing offenses in general, but especially opposing quarterbacks. So I think Mahomes has a terrible day. Even with 4 teams on bye this week, I think Mahomes still does not get inside the top 20. I was going to say he's going to finish outside the top 24, but with so many teams on bye, I was like, I can't go that far. But I'm trying to be bold here with these. They're not bold predictions. They are just predictions, but I'm trying to not just take the easy way out with some of these. So I'm going to say outside the top 20 for Mahomes.
Has he, I'm not sorry if you said this, has he finished outside of the top 20? No, right? He's finished top 20 every single week because this would be his worst game, like you said.
I think he has, let me double check. Yes, he was QB 20 in week 3, and he was QB 22 in the Buffalo game in week 9.
Okay.
And those are the 2 times that he is not, and every other game he's been QB 14 or higher. Yeah. So those were the 2 bad ones. So I think he might finish higher than QB 22 just because there's 4 teams on bye, but I think it'll be his lowest points total output as a fantasy quarterback.
Look, we saw the Texans make Josh Allen look like a guy had no idea what he was doing, right, at quarterback because of how good they are defensively. And you look at the other side of the ball, Chiefs have a good defense, right? This game, when the Texans take the field, you're not getting points. It's just not what happens in these types of games. They're the number 1 teams in terms of playing towards the under this season in terms of total points now. A lot of that's because they're playing AFC South teams. But in the overall, Texans games do not become shootouts. Chiefs games, this game is at home, correct? The Chiefs are playing at Arrowhead.
I believe that's correct. Let me double check just to make sure I'm not. I think you're right. Yes, it is at Arrowhead. Yeah, and it's Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, the Chiefs, when they play at home, these games tend to be lower scoring as well. And I think that another trend that I thought was really interesting this year that I kind of latched onto, I coined it the lasso lag, which was essentially after offenses faced the Dallas Cowboys, they were almost always worse the following week. And those numbers were always bloated because, oh man, this team just totally lit up the Dallas Cowboys. And then they play somebody else and they don't look nearly as good. I think you see that compounded here with Patrick Mahomes. Again, coming off a monster game, one of his best of the season against the Dallas Cowboys, which was one of the few games this year that the Chiefs have actually played indoors. So it was kind of the perfect run out for Mahomes on Thanksgiving where fast game script, dome conditions, airing the ball out, everybody's cooking. And now you're getting the total other end of the spectrum where you're facing this elite Houston Texans defense. So I agree with you. And I know in one of my leagues, Superflex, I have Drake May, I have Jackson Dart, and I have Patrick Mahomes as my 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them are on bye weeks, and one of them has the worst matchup you could draw. So not looking forward to that particular spot, but yeah, especially with 4 teams on bye, Mahomes, really tough guy to bench, but somebody that you're going to have to adjust your expectations on.
Erickson, do you know what his passing yard line is on Hard Rock Bet? I can't believe this.
It's probably too high.
It's 245.5. There's no chance. I mean, there's a chance. He's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's true.
He's
never wanted
insanely
to
good.
Whenever you drop them, there's no way.
I know. I shouldn't have said that. But I love the under. Like, I don't know if he even gets 200 in this game. Like, I genuinely think the Texans defense is that good. 245.5. I like that is my prop is under that. I would also go under 1.5 touchdowns. I mean, I would go under as a prop. His passing attempts are 34.5. I think he goes under that. Like, I just don't see this game playing out where he's throwing a ton and completing a ton of passes and like any of that. I just think it'll be a very, very poor game for him.
And you didn't mention this either, but they have multiple offensive line injuries.
Yep.
Across the board.
And this is not a pass rush you want to have offensive line problems against.
Trey Smith is banged up. Simmons is banged up. Taylor is banged up. Like, yeah, so that is a tough draw for Mahomes. You're hoping that he just uses his legs, which is what he tends to do in like the playoffs, and that's how he kind of gets his points. Because we know the Chiefs, when push comes to shove, they're going to drop back to throw 40 times, like no matter what it takes, because they will abandon the run quicker than any other team when it's Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco. So that is the one thing I think that maybe you get as a Mahomes fantasy manager. Hey, we can get some just sheer volume out of it to kind of grid our way to maybe 15, 16, 17 fantasy points.
If there's one bet on the over I like on Mahomes this week, it's rushing yards at 21.5. That would be the one if I had to take one. It's not, I don't love it. It's not like, oh, let me sprint and go like bet the mortgage on it. But if I had to pick one, that's the one I like. When it comes to managing your money, you've got to think like a fantasy GM. It's all about making smart moves. That's where the Klarna card comes in. It's like that perfect waiver wire pickup for your everyday finances. You can pay in full now or plan ahead to pay later so you stay flexible and always in control of your budget. It's your debit card upgraded. No credit impact to apply, no hidden fees, and it works anywhere Visa is accepted. Think of it as a game-winning play for your everyday finances. Sign up for the Klarna card by downloading the Klarna app or learn more at klarna.com/US/Klarna-card and take control of your purchases your way. Klarna Card Pay Later plans issued by WebBank. Deposits in your balance account are held at WebBank, member FDIC. Anywhere Visa is accepted. Certain merchant, product, good, and service restrictions apply. Some merchants do not accept virtual cards. Physical card only included with a paid Klarna membership plan. Let's go to your number 3 prediction here.
Justin Jefferson finishes inside the top 20 wide receivers against the Washington Commanders. Man, I can't believe we reached a point where it's kind of like a prediction to make Jefferson a wide receiver 2. But
I was going to give you a hard time about it. Like, I don't think you're wrong that it is actually kind of a prediction. I'm not saying this is an invalid one, but like Justin Jefferson top 20. Like, yeah, we can do a little better than that, don't you think?
I mean, I did my weekly rankings, and I'm pretty sure I have him either wide receiver 1 territory. So he's in there. So, I mean,
I wanted you to get to like top 15, top 12, something like that. Like 20.
My favorite thing about this show is it's not bold predictions, but if you don't come on with a bold prediction, then you get ridiculed by the other analyst and host, basically.
Well, it's funny. Like, I'll let you finish before I get into mine, but my prediction, because it's in the same game, is Chris Rodriguez is a top 20 running back. And it's just funny to look at those two names next to each other. Like, these are equivalent predictions. Is Chris Rodriguez top 20 at his position, Justin Jefferson top 20 at his position. It just sounds ridiculous. But you're right. It's not a bold predictions show.
Maybe we can make this one a head-to-head where we just do straight up half PPR points. Who scores more points, Jefferson or Rodriguez? So maybe that's a fun way we can do a twist on this one. But last week, Jefferson hit rock bottom with Brosmer, or as I like to call him, Brosmer. Just absolutely terrible game from the former undrafted rookie quarterback from Minnesota. Jefferson had 2 catches for 4 yards. He actually had a really bad target share as well. It was significantly worse than it was with J.J. McCarthy. At least with McCarthy, we were seeing all the air yards, high-end target share over 30%, just 20% in this game. T.J. Hawkinson was the one guy that actually saw the boost with Brosmer under center, 6 for 6, 59 yards. Addison was the target leader with 10 targets. That being said, McCarthy has now accelerated through the concussion protocol just like that. It's like, nope, he is coming back because Brosmer was not the guy. And I would expect that now Jefferson in a really strong matchup at home against the Commanders, I think that he's going to bounce back here. We know that the volume in the air yards, the high value opportunities are going to be there for Jefferson. It's just a matter of, hey, can JJ McCarthy be any sense of efficient? Now, it's not really about him taking this massive leap, but it's the fact that, well, they're playing the Washington Commanders defense. And this is a defense that has faced bad quarterbacks before, and those quarterbacks are able to rise above it and be more efficient. It's not playing at Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. It's not playing at Seattle. So I like this matchup for Jefferson to kind of get back into that wide receiver 2 range like I talked about. Where is the actual upside with him? I talked about this on the Rank Show last week, where Jefferson has 0 top 8 finishes this season, 0 20-point games. I don't know if he really has a really, really high ceiling just within the confines of what it's like to be attached to JJ McCarthy. But if he's ever going to bounce back, especially after hitting rock bottom last week, it has to be this week against the Washington Commanders. And I would say, too, the prop that I'm kind of throwing in here is Jefferson going over 60.5 receiving yards. This has to be one of the lowest receiving yard props he's had since he entered the NFL. I would be very interested to see what it was when he was a rookie, essentially, because I feel like that's the number that we're working with here. I was actually trying to guess what it would be before the lines actually got posted this morning. I thought it was going to be around 57.5, 58.5, up to 60.5 receiving yards officially on Hard Rock Bet. But if you look at what Jefferson has done at home this year, in 4 of his 5 home games, he's actually gone over this number, 2 of which were with JJ McCarthy as the quarterback. So no, it's been bad. No, it's been rough, but matchup's too good, spots too good to improve for McCarthy coming back as the quarterback. So you got to start Jefferson, and I think that you're going to get a strong game from him.
I like the plus 900 first touchdown score for Jefferson on Hard Rock Bet actually quite a bit. I think if the Vikings get down close, I think they kind of want to see Jefferson get going and have a blow up game if it's possible. I think I think they will be motivated to try and get him a score early in this game against a bad defense, like everything you said. So plus 900, that's pretty darn good odds for somebody of Justin Jefferson's skill set and talent. So I actually kind of like that quite a bit. It is hard for me. Where are you actually ranking him? Did you say? You said it's close to wide receiver 1 range.
I think he's right at 13 for me. He's on the cusp of that
he's 15 in ECR. But right behind him is Zay Flowers. I definitely like Justin Jefferson better than Zay Flowers.
Oh, we know. You like anybody better than Zay Flowers.
Well, let me ask you this. Justin Jefferson or Emeka Egbuka, who has been really bad lately?
Yeah, I think that I did put Jefferson above Egbuka. I think that's probably where I'm a little bit different than ECR is. I could see both arguments, but both guys have been inefficient, essentially, on pretty good target volume, air yards, like I said before, usage, essentially. But Jefferson, to your point, I think that you do get a little bit of a narrative here with him where, no, we're going to jam targets to Jefferson. We're going to get him going, get the home crowd going. Jefferson's back, Jettas, all the good vibes, especially when it's against the Commanders. It's a matchup that they know that even a quarterback like McCarthy, no, you can take advantage of this really bad defense, especially in their secondary. So we know the Vikings season's kind of lost at this point. The only thing that they need to do is just, hey, can McCarthy be the guy? Just evaluate him, give him opportunities, and maybe a week off helped him, right? We saw this with Bryce Young after he got benched after playing just so bad. Now it's a little bit different because he missed a game because of an injury, but who knows? Maybe he can come back a little bit, less pressure on him, and it is the Commanders.
It's kind of funny. So my predictions on Chris Rodriguez in this game, his first touchdown score on Hard Rock Bet is plus 575. His odds are significantly shorter than Justin Jefferson, which is hilarious. I like Chris Rodriguez to finish as a top 20 running back in fantasy this week. This is actually, something of a prediction because he is not ranked inside the top 20 on ECR, unlike Justin Jefferson. He's RB 28 this week. And he's somebody that has kind of taken over this backfield, of course. He has been finding the end zone like he did in this last game. He has a touchdown in 4 of his last 6 games. So this has been kind of a thing. The Vikings run defense has not been that good. I'm not saying that Rodriguez is going to come in here and have a top 5 week and, finish with over 100 yards for the first time this season or anything like that. But I do think he gets in the end zone, and I do think with 4 teams on bye, he finishes inside the top 20 at the position, which he has only done once this season. It was against Seattle, a very good defense, back in week 9. He already had 60 yards and a touchdown. I think we get something similar. I think we get like 60 yards and a touchdown from Rodriguez in this game, Erickson.
I think this is a good one. He has been carving out that lead role in the Commanders' backfield. It does get a little bit scary because they still like to use multiple guys. So even though Jacory Krosky-Merritt has kind of taken the back seat, he still gets a handful of touches here and there. We know that they like to use Jerry McNichols a little bit as well, especially in pass catching situations. But I think for the most part, when it comes to if Rodriguez gets there, he's going to score a touchdown. And that's definitely the guy that they're leaning on towards when they get into the red zone. So I think, again, if he finds pay dirt twice, you're cashing this one.
Let's go to our number 2 predictions each. What do you have?
Going to go with Chase Brown goes over 100 yard from scrimmage for the 7th straight game. He's on a 6 straight game heater with 100 yards from scrimmage, and he was good again on Thanksgiving. 15 carries for 78 yards, 7 catches for 35 yards. And I know that I don't just speak for myself watching that game. With everybody watching in prime time, Samaje Perine did. Like, this guy was on the field so much in that game. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, is Chase Brown injured? Like, what is going on here? Did he piss off Zach Taylor in some way at the Thanksgiving dinner table? Like, what is the deal here? But the snaps ended up actually being 60% Chase Brown, 40% Samaje Perine. And this was always kind of in the range of outcomes with Perine coming back. Now, anytime a guy comes back from an injury, sometimes you don't get them back into their full roles. And in this case, we did. Before Perine's injury, this backfield was more of a 60-40 split, especially when it came to the snaps. However, Chase Brown had been heating up anyway. He's still been really efficient. And I think that although Perine is going to stay involved, especially on third downs, which we just don't see Chase Brown play a lot of, Chase Brown has just been so efficient. Like, he's looked super explosive as both a rusher and receiver. And again, it hasn't only been Perine not being there that has been the reason why Chase Brown has been so effective. Like, he's just playing significantly better. You have Joe Burrow back, which is obviously giving a massive boost to the entire offense. And I think the thing that's really the most important selling point is they're playing the Buffalo Bills, right? This team gave up, I think, an RB1 performance to Sean Tucker. They gave over 200 yards from scrimmage to Devon Achane a couple weeks ago as well. So although the Bills defense did play a little bit better against the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Again, so I think Chase Brown can continue to stay on a hot run, even if he is still kind of ceding some touches to Samaje Perine. I don't think it's going to be quite enough to get me off of him against the Buffalo Bills. And when you look at his prop, it's actually 76.5 rushing and receiving yards. So it's significantly lower than what he's been hitting at a really high rate at 100 yards from scrimmage. So we don't even need to get to the century mark for Chase Brown to go over his prop, which is 76.5 rushing and receiving yards, which I really, really love against the Buffalo Bills.
I love it too. I think this is a great call. I also like, so his rushing yardage total is 51.5. I like him to go over that. Like, against the Bills, like run defense of all teams, I totally am with you on this. I like the combined over 76.5. I like the over on 51.5 rushing as well. So I'm like super on board here. And to that point, I'll loop into my prediction, which is also about this game. I think Josh Allen and Joe Burrow give us the shootout we've been waiting for. I think the Bills and Bengals combined for over 70 points in this game. So obviously I like the over on 51.5 on Hard Rock Bet. I think they combined for over 70 points. I think this game challenges to be the highest scoring game of the NFL season so far. I meant to look this up. I think it's the 40-37 Cowboys Giants game is the highest scoring game so far. I could be forgetting another one. We can look that up later. So that's why I didn't say like this will definitely be the highest scoring, but I think it challenges for that. I think it gets close. Like I said, I think they combine for over 70 points. And I think Allen and Burrow throw a lot of touchdowns. I like Chase Brown to get a lot of yardage, which is why I agree with yours. But I think when it comes to the scoring, it's going to be a lot of passing touchdowns. And I think Allen and Burrow are going to combine for at least 6 touchdowns. So the prop here is really just the over on the game, over 51.5, and that it's going to be a big shootout. But I think Chase Brown plays into that, right? Like I think he's going to have a big game. I think everybody in this game is going to have a big game. I think this is the one we've been waiting for. Again, like it's two defenses that are not good, partially due to injury, partially due to the Bengals being the Bengals. It's two quarterbacks that I feel like are kind of due. Like Allen had that game against the Bucs a few weeks ago. Burrow, of course, kind of shaking off the rust a bit against the, not that he was terrible against the Ravens, but like obviously the Ravens kind of handed that game to them. I think this is like both of them kind of like at full strength. Just a huge shootout potential. I think everybody in this game blows up, honestly.
You're going to get no pushback from me. The only thing that I will add is I need to take the L on Joe Burrow last week. I was much lower on consensus than Joe Burrow, and he finished exactly where ECR had him pegged, right around that QB 10, QB 9 range. And I was so impressed by what I saw from him with so much time off. And I'm honestly lucky that he didn't score more fantasy points, to be totally honest. Like, he left some production on the table. I think that when I looked at his expected fantasy points in the game against the Ravens, he was closer to like 30. So I was lucky that he still finished 18 to 19 points and didn't totally bury me in the advice I gave last week. But if you have Burrow, you stashed him, you added him off waivers, locked and loaded, like rest of the way with a fantasy QB1. So you're feeling great about that, and you should have no hesitation starting him this week and rest of the season, especially if they get T. Higgins back. Higgins was still in concussion protocol on December 1st on Monday. So that's a little concerning, just given that they played on Thursday. Usually you see these guys get out of the protocol a little bit sooner with extra time. But if he gets him back, yeah, we're going to see a scoring bonanza here between two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that's something that's really interesting, too, when you look at it from a betting perspective. Each of the last 5 games between the Bills and Bengals has actually gone under the total. And that, to me, isn't, oh, no, like, this is going to be the 6th game in a row. This is, oh, no, they're due for a monster game. Like, that's the way that I'm reading this particular trend. So I agree with you. And I think that when we look back on this prediction, we're going to be like, all right, where I'm like, totally nailed it, 70 points. Hit the over easily, but Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns. So you were spiritually correct, as we like to always talk about on this prediction show, is like, you weren't technically correct, but like spiritually when Josh Allen rushed for 3 touchdowns because nobody on the Bills actually gets passing touchdowns thrown to them because they just use 12,000 different receivers. I will still give you credit.
I want to be clear that as the host of this show and who ultimately is the one keeping score of this, I will be counting spiritually correct. You're right. It feels like we are past due for like 2 of these Mount Rushmore like current quarterbacks to like really just go off against each other, and I think it happens here. So I'm glad to hear that you are in agreement with that. By the way,
as long as we get the weather, just need the weather to hold up, because I know that we've seen snow and wind, and it's in Buffalo, so like that's a concern. But as long as we get like not just totally crappy weather, then yeah, we should see points here.
The total has gone up. It's now 52 on Hard Rock Bet. By the way, not the highest of the week though. Dallas Detroit is 54.5, which is,
well, that one's at Coors Field, baby.
I think that's the highest I've seen as a total this year. Fair on that one. Now it is time for our Hard Rock Best Bets of the Week, presented by Hard Rock Bet. Erickson, what is your Hard Rock Best Bet of the Week?
Teased it earlier in the show that Bucky Irving is going to be a league winner for the 2nd year in a row, and that starts and continues against the New Orleans Saints this week. So my Hard Rock best bet is Bucky Irving going to finish as a RB1 this week in week 14 because he's going to rush for over 69.5 rushing yards against the Saints, over 70 rushing yards, however you want to shake it. With Bucky Irving, it was his first game back after a long absence. He played 54% of the snaps, but he went back to kind of Bucky Irving bell cow status. 17 carries for 61 yards. He had a long of 13. 2 catches for 20 yards. He had a long of 20. So he's ripping off some explosive plays. He actually also scored from inside the goal line at the 1 yard line, but came back on a holding penalty. So I still think that Bucky Irving he's slated for a strong run here. He has fresh legs because of all the time missed. We're not really seeing him lose out on work to Rachaad White or Sean Tucker. Rachaad White's still kind of dabbling on passing downs, but besides that, it really is Bucky Irving as the main guy, and they're facing the New Orleans Saints. 4th most rushing yards allowed to running backs this season, over 110 rushing yards per game. Nothing but smooth sailing for Bucky rest of season, so I think he starts to go on RB1 tear here. And despite the fact he's not scored a lot of touchdowns, I think they said in the broadcast last week was the first game he has scored all season. I want you to just double check me on that, Worm, but I think that streak's going to continue here. So he's going to keep scoring touchdowns. He's going to be an RB1. He's going to rush for at least 70 yards against the Saints.
He caught a touchdown in week 1 and in week 4. This was his first rushing touchdown of the season.
That's nuts. Who'd have said that? Week 13 is going to be Bucky Irving's first rushing touchdown.
I mean, he did miss like 8 games, or 7 games, I think. Still. Yeah. Yeah. My Hard Rock best bet of the week is that the Eagles absolutely smash the Chargers on Monday night. I think they easily cover -3 in Los Angeles. That's what it was. I haven't checked to see if that line moved at all. That was the initial line that I saw was -3. Let's just double check quickly here since this is my best bet of the week. I want to make sure it is accurate. And it's actually gone down. It's now -2.5 on Hard Rock.
You don't even need to give them the hook anymore. Let's go.
Even better. I love it. I think the Eagles are going to just destroy the Chargers in this game. Obviously, we've talked a lot about LA's offensive line injuries and issues. Like the Eagles have a great defensive line. AJ Brown coming off a huge game. I know it was in a loss to the Bears, but AJ Brown coming off a big game. We don't know what's going on with Herbert and his health. Again, we're taping this Tuesday morning, so there's time for this to change. Maybe it'll be more obvious later in the week. It doesn't matter to me if he plays or not. I'm going to like the Eagles -2.5 regardless on the road. But obviously if Trey Lance plays, this looks even better. And a prop I'll give you is Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are going to both score touchdowns. You can bet both their anytime touchdowns. And I think they will both hit. But yeah, the prediction here, the Hard Rock best bet of the week for me is that the Eagles win and cover by a wide margin, -2.5 against the Chargers. Those were our Hard Rock best bets of the week. And while we're talking about Hard Rock Bet, they've got some big news. Hard Rock Bet is now live in Michigan. Sign up today and place your first $5 sports bet. If it wins, you get $150 in bonus bets on top of your winnings. And if you're more into casino games, new customers can get up to $1,000 back in casino bonus. If you're not up money after your first 24 hours playing slots, win money or get a casino bonus back. Plus, you get 200 bonus spins, winnings paid in cash. Not sure what to place your first bet on? Head over to the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub and it'll help you out. It's loaded with trends, streaks, and stats to help guide your picks. Numbers don't lie, and neither does the data in there. Hard Rock Bet offers new promos daily, plus big legendary reward drops every Thursday, like gifts under the tree. So whenever you're listening, just open the app and check out what you've got waiting for you. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. Erickson, what do you think about that Eagles call?
I like it. Eagles against the spread, and I think that you're in a situation where you want to get on this early, right? Because the line can only move in your favor at this point, right? So even if Justin Herbert, he's going to play, is that going to make me want, got to take the Chargers with that home field advantage? Yeah, okay, which they do not have. But man, I feel so bad for Herbert. Dude is such a warrior, but behind this offensive line, playing with a broken hand, even though it's on his non-throwing hand, this is still something that he has to play with and adjust and be thinking about when the pass rush is coming down, because his offensive line's not giving much time to block. So I think that this is a great bet to make. And once we get Trey Lance, we're going to see this line move to Eagles favored by a touchdown, if that's the case here. So I think that you're playing with, this is the value proposition right here.
What did you say your prop was for Bucky? I know you said
over 69.5 rushing yards. I don't have it. They haven't listed it yet, but I would assume that's going to be probably somewhere in that vicinity just based on what his rushing props have been. I think that he was around this last week as well, but against the Saints, I just think he's going to continue to cook.
Yeah, your official best bet is the over on whatever that line is. He said, so he's RB8 in ECR. Is that that's roughly where you have him?
Perfect.
Hey, Bucky Irving or Chase Brown this week?
I think I'm probably going to have to move Chase Brown down just a tad bit. I just think it's so annoying with the P. Ryan stuff. It's just so tilting that he came back and just took so many of the carries. So I think that I might have to move towards Bucky, but Chase Brown will still be well within the top 10 running backs. Just have to acknowledge that he's not going to see 90% of the snaps, which is going to limit him a little bit, even though it is still the Buffalo Bills defense.
All right, those were our Hard Rock best bets of the week, and also all of our predictions that you heard throughout the show. Like I said, we'll come up with some sort of competition bet or something here.
Give us some ideas in the comments.
Yeah, definitely let us know in the comments if you have some fun ideas. It could be something that we can do virtually together. It could be something that we can do when we're on our team trip in New Orleans together next month. Whatever you come up with, we'll consider some options here, come up with something. But whatever we do, we will be competing to see who does better on these predictions.
Maybe what we do is the loser has to sing the winner's song at karaoke live in New Orleans. And the winner gets to pick whatever song they want
There's no guarantee we make it to another karaoke bar like we did a couple of team trips ago. Also, I think it would ruin the evening for everybody if I sang. It is. I have a lot of skills. Singing is not one.
And don't lose.
Well, I will make sure that I spiritually win and count all those victories for sure. If that ends up being the bet, not a bad idea. We'll consider it and consider anything else everybody says in the comments. By the way, each week we do a quick fantasy football live stream ahead of Thursday Night Football on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel and a short betting live stream ahead of Monday Night Football on the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Both of them go from 8 p.m. Eastern until kickoff. Please check them out. Subscribe to our YouTube channels and click the bell to be notified of all of our weekly live streams. For Erickson, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Best of luck here in week 14 and clinching up those playoff spots. We'll see you next time.
Worm, why do you hate say flowers?
He doesn't score touchdowns and he never will.